Thanks everybody for taking time out on a snowy night. I don't know how much snow you have by you, but it's coming down pretty well by me in wild West Milford, on the state line between New York and New Jersey. So again, this is, sorry, there we go. Just a little background about myself. My day job is as the Director of Donor Advising for the New York, New Jersey Trail Conference. I've been a board member. I'm a life member. My wife and I volunteer on the trails. We love it. We're geeks, trail geeks. This is our life. And that's just how it goes. I've had the chance to write a couple of hiking guides, and I lead a lot of hikes and trail runs. It's probably about 700 organized trips right now. Had the opportunity to climb the Catskill Peaks and a number of others in Europe and other places. And I'm certified in wilderness first aid. I work on the Environmental Commission in my local town and got to serve on the Outside Together Recreation Committee for the state of New Jersey, setting up its 5-year recreation plan. It's my passion. I really love this organization, and I'm always in awe of how they do it. Just how the heck this organization managed to survive 100 years and care for now more than 2,000 miles of trails across 200 parks. You know, it's a crazy job to take care of that many trails, make sure that they're free, safe, and open for everybody to enjoy. Plus, take care of the bridges and the steps and the boardwalks, and protect native plant species and remove invasive plant species, and buy land, advocate for the rights of hikers, and to enjoy nature and all the other things that happen. So if you're a volunteer or if you're a member or a supporter, thank you so much. We really appreciate it, and you are our future. So basically, the organization recruits and trains a small army of 2,500 people who volunteer their time, and some AmeriCorps members as well. And the reason this is so important is because the volunteers, while they are far from free, they certainly multiply our impact, and they make it possible to do this work in an efficient way, and fill gaps for many parks, especially in the state of New Jersey, where the parks are just very poorly funded. We really just wouldn't have this network of trails if not for all of you great volunteers. And people who volunteer there, people like yourselves, I think most of you really get it, that access to nature is about so much more than just hiking and fun on the trail. Trails are the way that humans get to experience nature. It's how we get access to it, and how we and our kids learn to value the power of nature, the healing powers of nature, the importance of protecting the planet, keeping us healthy with outdoor exercise, unplugging from stress in our phones, learning about plants and animals, and engaging in volunteer service and just having a great time out on the trails. So to me, it's about so much more than just trails and hiking. The organization, as I said, its work is spread out. The red lines that you can see on this graphic show some of the primary trails that we maintain and long distance trails and where we work. So it's basically from central New Jersey, around Hunterdon County and that area, up north, through the Catskills and beyond, is where the Trail Conference does its work, up to the Massachusetts line, the Connecticut line, and so on and so forth. So this is where we work. We maintain long distance trails as well. We are the maintainers of the Appalachian Trail across the states of New Jersey and New York. Same for the Highlands Trail, the Long Path, and so forth. So that's an idea of where the organization is active. I don't think I need to answer this question because most of you said you prefer hiking in winter. So, but for me, hiking in winter is about staying active, not getting cabin fever, enjoying the beautiful colors that just pop in the snow, seeing the evergreens, the ice, having quieter trails and more open views. And if you hike in summertime, you know what the crowds are like. There are fewer of those, fewer snakes and ticks and insects that can bite you, and And while we still see bears roaming around with in the middle of January up by us, you see fewer of them. So um, what I'm going to urge you to do is to take pictures of any slides that you see, because there's a ton of information in here. Um, and I may not be able to say all of it, and you may not be able to remember all of it. So none of this is proprietary. Take pictures, please. And so without further ado, we'll jump into the top 6 tips. This is kind of a catch-all combined tip. It covers a lot, but the first step in getting ready for great winter hikes is to plan and prepare and map out your adventure. This is really important. It doesn't take that much time, and it really has assured me of a lot more success on the hikes that I lead to go through this process. And the first thing is assessing myself and assessing the group of people that I'm going to be taking into the woods, because we're as strong as our leaders and we're as strong as our slowest hiker. So I need to have a clear idea of, are they properly outfitted? What is their fitness and agility level? And what would be the slowest hiker's pace, so I can get an idea of, is this hike distance doable? Will we be out in time? Is it a distance that will be enjoyable for everybody? Who's my sweep? Who's leading the hike? And does anyone on the hike know CPR? It's always good to have someone who knows CPR or is trained in wilderness first aid, especially in the wintertime. Second thing is just knowing what the trail conditions are going to be like out there. I use many different social media groups to get an idea of what's going on. How much snow and ice is on the ground, how high is the water in some of the places that we're hiking, how difficult are the crossings, and then of course just checking the weather conditions and driving and parking conditions. And then the last piece of this is mapping it out. As you probably already know, the New York, New Jersey Trail Conference produces its own maps. So they're curated by the people who make the trails. We know about the changes as they're happening, and we include them. And we also curate our maps so that they're not crowdsourced, in the sense that people are creating trails that on all trails or other platforms that lead to nowhere, or just not places you're not allowed to hike. So the Avenza maps that we offer on your phone can be found on our website. And if you like the hard copy maps, they're made of Tyvek, which is used to wrap houses. So you can run them through the washer and dryer and they'll still survive. So mapping out your route, mapping out what your plan B is. Josie twisted an ankle. We need to shorten the hike, or, a bailout plan, that type of thing. Just going through that little bit of an exercise really helps me, and I hope it's helpful to you as well. And just really taking a look at how steep the hike is and how difficult it's going to be, because they all look flat on the map. All right, so the other thing with planning and preparing is having your first aid kit handy. Now, a lot of the items here in this first aid kit, these are not meant to be life-saving items. They're more to keep people comfortable and take care of cuts and bruises and blisters and headaches, mild allergic reactions, and so forth. I do urge you to talk with anybody who's coming into the woods with you, so they can bring any personal meds with them that they might need, including an EpiPen if they're allergic to anything at any time of year. This is kind of a top 10 winter first aid kit. But I also want to talk a little bit about what else there is out there to keep people safe. And most of these are not practical for us to take on a group hike, either because of the weight, or because we're not trained in how to use it, or because we don't have a prescription for an EpiPen, that type of thing. But these are good things to be aware of. In our wilderness first aid classes, we talk about how to use a tourniquet. These are the lifesavers. So if someone, God forbid, should be seriously injured and bleeding heavily, a tourniquet could save their life. And having that in your pack could be a really great thing to have. You can create a splint for a broken bone out of trekking poles, or to a lesser extent branches and that. but having a packable splint does not weigh a lot, and having a medical moldable splint is a super thing to have in your arsenal. A medical sling also does not weigh a lot and could be very helpful for the comfort of someone who hurts their arm and just needs to get out. Bring plenty of water, a water purifier, things to keep warm, because we all know that when we're out, especially you trail runners out there, you know you're running in next to nothing. And as long as you're moving, life is good. But you twist an ankle, you fall, you break something, having a way to keep warm, whether it be a sleeping bag, a bivy sack, which is smaller and lighter, or Mylar blankets, all can help with your comfort and safety in the event of an unexpected event. My cousin's husband has an atrial fibrillation problem, and some people do. Carrying an AED with you is not always practical, but this is something to know about. Does anyone on your hike have that potential issue? And some people do carry defibrillators. If they have an allergy, a serious allergy can't be treated, with just Benadryl. A serious allergy that closes, breathing areas can only be addressed with something like an EpiPen. So it's good to know and have that person who's allergic bring something with them at any time of year. And of course, a person trained in wilderness first aid is good. We partner with New Jersey Search and Rescue, so I've put a link in there as well, just for more information. So this is more of an FYI page, but I want you to be aware of what the different issues are that can happen on the trail and some of the more advanced equipment that wilderness first aid people use to address them. Understanding that it's not practical to carry everything. All right. This looks like a good place to stop for any questions, if there are any at this point.
So far, none that related to wilderness first aid.
Okay, great. The other thing about wintertime, thanks, Jen. The other thing about wintertime is, of course, the days are shorter. And we really want to know when the sunrise and sunset times are. It can be easily found on the internet. If you're going to Windham to go climb Windham High Peak or Blackhead Mountain this weekend, you're going to have a sunset at 5:06, and at 5:36 p.m. It's going to be pitch black there. So you can wrap up a hike by 3 p.m. That's a pretty good cushion, gives you some wiggle room. And on all winter hikes, I really insist that people bring a working headlamp. And if I'm hiking alone, I'm crazy, I bring two. Just because they're light, and if the battery fails on one, I've got to back up. I've been glad to have a headlamp at various times in my life. Also kind of self-explanatory, but elevation changes everything in terms of temperature and weather and so forth. The key thing with hiking at higher elevations is to stay warm, and the key to staying warm is staying dry. Key to staying dry is to wear the proper fabrics in layers. The expression "cotton is rotten" is true. You don't want to wear cotton, but if you can wear an insulating base mid-layer that's made of a wicking fabric, you're going to be much better off. I like to carry warm clothes in my pack, but start out chilly and try to stay comfortably cool as I hike, because as I said before, I perspire and more than most people, and being wet is not a good thing out there. So I'm stripping off layers before I overheat. And if I do become sweaty, I will often remove the layer closest to my skin, just throw it in the pack, maybe throw on an extra layer, whatever. But stay dry. Keeping feet dry with boots and gaiters, waterproof boots, and keeping the extremities warm works really well for me, because if my head and my neck and my feet and my hands are warm enough, I don't need as many layers covering the rest of my core. So that works for me. As mentioned before, first aid kit, bivy sack, a fire starter kit, emergency space blankets and batteries are great to bring along for the more advanced winter adventures. was just looking at, well, Mount Washington, what it's averaging in terms of temperature this month, and the average low is -9 Fahrenheit. Average high is 10 degrees, and there's a 90% chance you're going to get some kind of precipitation and certainly a lot of wind. So just being aware as you go into higher elevations that mountains make their own weather and the precautions that go with it.
John, before we move on, Pamela just had a question related to wilderness first aid, and she had asked if you recommend having insurance for emergency rescues.
Oh, that's a good question. I haven't carried any before. That's a topic that people are discussing nowadays. I don't have a strong opinion on it because I haven't looked into it seriously. But insurance is a great idea. I just, the honest answer is I don't really have that much experience with it.
And then we also had a question about experience with heated socks or vest, other apparel.
Yeah, so I haven't used electric socks or anything like that. I'm sure they work just fine on the same principle as an electric blanket. I do use hot hands and hot feet or hot toes, whatever, and they work really well. But yeah, my best advice would be give it a try before you get out someplace really challenging, and just make sure they're working for you, and have a backup, because batteries and electrical things can die in the cold. So I hope that helps. All right, so moving on, looking out for typical winter trail hazards. Snow and ice we can expect, and I want to just talk about traction aids for a minute, because now that we're dealing with snow, you want to have the appropriate traction aids. A lot of us trail runners out there run in exo spikes, which are very light, have a very minimal bite into the snow, and they're great for running. They're great for some hiking in lighter snow. Catulum micro spikes are kind of the next level up from there. They have the teeth sink deeper into the snow and ice to provide better traction. Hill sound makes even more aggressive footwear for that type of thing. And if you're hiking in the Catskills, you probably want to have at least hill sounds with you for that deeper ice and snow. And in some cases along the Devil's Path, certain sections of the Devil's Path in wintertime, you actually need crampons. So the best advice, if you're shopping for some of these items, go to REI, go to Campmore, go to Ramsey Outdoor, whoever, and let them know what it is you're planning to use them for, and they can advise you as to what would be the best brands that they carry for that purpose. With snowshoes, we're going to talk a little bit about snowshoes later, so I'll jump into that later. Trekking poles are great, with snowshoes, with just about anything in winter for balance and support. And you burn 15% more calories when you use trekking poles and get a little upper body workout. So they're great to have. Whiteout conditions, especially above tree line, whiteout conditions can happen. My best advice is checking the weather forecast ahead of time at the place where you're going to be hiking, not at home. If the weather is questionable, consider hiking in on a different day just to avoid that type of situation altogether. And then I will mention poison ivy. Poison ivy, don't get poison ivy in the wintertime, do you? Yes, you can. And the only thing to avoid is trees. If I grab onto a tree for support, I want to make sure it has no vines on it, especially the furry vines that are symbolic of poison ivy. And you'll find poison ivy most likely in places where the forest meets a clearing. You don't usually find much poison ivy deep in the woods. You find it kind of at the beginnings and ends of your hike, or where there's a forest edge. We'll talk a little bit about bears, just because we love them. and we see them sometimes in wintertime. First thing to note is that in east of the Mississippi, we only have black bears in the area, which is good because they're the least predatory of bears. They're almost entirely vegetarian. They like to avoid humans, but they do love our food. So I try to seal up any food I have in double bagging, so the scent is minimal. And when I do see bears, I give them space. By space, that means if you're 50 yards or closer, you're too close. Never approach them, never make them feel surrounded or cornered. And, obviously cubs, if you see cubs, you want to leave. If you are exiting an area with a bear, never want to run. Any animal has a chase instinct just about. So you don't want to run, nor do you need to turn your back, just back away slowly. If the bear has seen you, or if the bear seems mildly interested in you, you can speak in a loud, calm voice to let the bear know that you are there, and continue to back away. Direct eye contact can be seen as a sign of aggression by some animals, so I try not to stare right into their eyes as well. I've had a lot of different bear experiences over the years, and I've experienced the huffing, that kind of grunting, huffing sound that they make, which told me I was too close. They'll snap their jaws. It's kind of like to let you know that you're too close. They may swat the air, swat the ground. These are all signs that I should back up. And in the wintertime, the most likely place to find a bear would be in their rock dens. So it's a really great reason not to go checking out rock dens, even small ones that you think might be too small for a bear. You'd be surprised what they can and will squeeze into. Other signs of bear activity: poop. You might see scratch marks on the trees. We just saw some of that in Sterling Forest. Fur, black fur. Also in Sterling Forest, you can often see bear prints, which are illustrated here. And sometimes that's intentional, just the bear is letting you or other bears in the area know that this is their territory. So they actually will mark sometimes with a print, as well as sometimes just showing up and crashing your cookout. So all signs of bear activity. I love that.
Before you go on, I'm sorry. Oh, we'll finish this.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Go ahead.
We'll finish this. I didn't realize this was still about bears. Finish your final little slide
just
on the bear.
Everybody can read the joke, but yeah, you try and talk about how safe it is with bears, and then they worry about lightning. So just let them know it's okay.
That's right. We had a question about if there was a website that you use to track the snow coverage in any given area. If there's a website or something that you can direct, or if it's just on that weather app that you had provided before.
Well, I mean, NOAA, NOAA.gov is a pretty good place to get really detailed, granular information. All the other weather services get their information from the government. And if you dig around and poke around, you may be able to find some snow cover information. The other really easy way to do it is to go on one of the forums, Shawangunk Trail conditions, Catskill Trail conditions, trip planners, those kinds of social media outlets where you can catch someone who's actually been there, recently, and can tell you what's on the ground. That's what I do.
Okay, great. Also, Caroline had a suggestion, if everyone didn't see it, about mountainforecast.com. But then we also did have a question about bears. What time of day are they definitely hibernating? Would temps affect that? And wondering how temps are high, seeing as how high temps are for this time.
I mean, in normal conditions, you see that being, non-winter conditions, you're going to see more bear activity early and late, around the dusky twilight hours. But you can see them at any time. And in the wintertime, you are probably more likely to see bears at the warmer parts of the day, when they're when they feel the warmer weather and come out to feed. I'm not sure, was there some other part to that question that I missed? Sorry.
No, I think you answered it. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Yeah, it's kind of crazy to be walking around in the dead of winter and seeing a bear wandering. But this is the world we are in these days. So someone else earlier had asked about animal tracks, and so I promised to put some of the more commonly seen animal tracks there, since we'll have some snow to look at coming up. So I'll just leave that up if anybody wants to take a picture of it. I'm sorry, the right-hand side of your screen might be covered by our beautiful faces. So, all right. Now, going to get into snowshoeing just a little bit. There are 3 different kinds of snowshoes out there, so it's important to get the right kind of snowshoe for what you're going to be using. Most of us will use recreational snowshoes, which are bigger, wider, great for a 3 to 5 mile hike, which is actually more than you'd think, because hiking in snowshoes is harder work. There are also aerobic and running snowshoes that are really designed for racing on more firm snow. So they're not what most of us will be coming across. You may use more mountaineering snowshoes, especially if you're climbing in the Catskills or the Adirondacks, because they have more aggressive teeth, and they're better for much steeper terrain or deeper snow. The main thing is knowing your body weight, and figuring out what your body weight's going to be with all your clothing and gear, so that you've got the proper snowshoes. I've had the experience of getting a snowshoe that wasn't designed for a 200-pound man, and sinking in kind of deep, and having to take them back. So I don't recommend any specific brands. I have my favorites, but I think the best thing you can do is go to your outdoor outfitter and ask them what's best for you. You want to have poles with you. People ask, can you use trekking poles for it? Yes, you can, but make sure they have big snow baskets at the bottom. They have kind of a circle that helps you to use the poles without them just digging straight deep down into the snow. And for snowshoes and for trekking poles both, I carry some duct tape with me and plastic ties, because I did have snowshoes break in the middle of a hike once, and it was not fun. So they can help with quick fixes. Again, expect a workout in snowshoes, bring extra fluids because of that, and dry clothing, and take turns breaking trail. All right. The other thing you'll see in a lot of the areas, I have parks we're going to talk about where cross-country skiing is allowed. Some are actually groomed for cross-country skiing, just to stay off those ski tracks. And if they tell you not to use a trail, because it's reserved for cross-country skiing this month of the year, just to respect that. Talk a little bit about, just going to close that out. Just going to talk a little bit about hunting season. It's hunting season, and you can find a lot of different parks where hunting is not permitted, including Harriman and Minnewaska, parts of Minnewaska. Westchester doesn't have any gun hunting. All the places that you can see here. But the most important thing is, rather than just wearing bright colors, wear orange, wear blaze orange, because that's the color that tells the hunters in no uncertain terms, I'm a human, don't shoot. So, and staying on the trail is a really helpful thing to do at this time of year as well, if you're in a hunting area. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. And right now. So some of the parks with limited or no hunting in New York, as I mentioned, Minnewaska. Minnewaska is one of the parks you can go to where there's very little hunting. Harriman and Bear Mountain. Almost all the trails in Harriman Bear Mountain are east of Route 17. So as long as you're east of Route 17, you're good. In Sterling Forest has quite a bit of hunting, but the Doris Duke section, and we have a Doris Duke loop trail that's very nice on the north end of the park. that has no hunting. Pound Ridge in Westchester, some of the more populated places like Staten Island and the Walkway over the Hudson, obviously no hunting. And when you're in New Jersey, except in a few wildlife management areas, Sundays are pretty much hunting free. So these are parks you can go to avoid hunting. Any questions on this?
No, so far we're good. Smooth sailing.
Okay, great. Awesome. So we'll move on to tip number 5. Hiking, hiking should be treated as an athletic activity because it is. If as a trail runner, if I'm preparing for a difficult run or for a race, I'm going to start doing certain things the day before to get ready. Start hydrating the day before because it takes that long for your body to get out of its typical dehydration state and get fully hydrated for optimum performance on hike day. Carry enough water, drink enough water. Don't forget, it's not doing you any good on your back. It does you a lot more good in you than on you. Bring foods that provide carbohydrates, protein, salt, and fat, and foods that you're familiar with, that you're comfortable with, you can tolerate. This is not the time to try something new. Hot beverages are not going to keep you from getting hypothermia, but they're fun and they make you feel psychologically a lot warmer. And save the alcohol and other substances for after the hike. There'll be plenty of time for that after you're safely back to your home. I was going to say back to your car, but back to your home. For me personally, high levels of exertion can elicit muscle cramps in me. That's just me. And if you're someone who perspires a lot, the way I do, you need to be replacing your electrolytes, your water, mostly your salt, and your potassium. So I want to make sure to sip water throughout. And I carry these items as well for muscle cramps. Electrolytes, if you are cramping, electrolytes will help you even after the fact. But if you're really having bad muscle cramps, I resort to things like hot shots, which contain capsaicin and ginger and cinnamon, which works in a different way to stop muscle cramps because electrolytes get to the source of it, but the actual thing that's going on when you're cramping is that your nerves are misfiring. The motor neurons are misfiring, and hot shots and similar products like that arrest that process so you can get back to standing on your feet and getting out of the woods. Magnesium foam is another great one just because it relaxes the muscles in a natural way, so that you can get on with finishing your hike and getting out of the cold. So probably more than you wanted to know about fuel and hydration. Also want to just mention that you want to keep your water from freezing, and some ways to do that are to keep the water closer to your body heat. Make sure it's sealed, of course, if it's going to be any place where it could leak and be uncomfortable for you. I turn my bottles upside down once they're closed tightly, so that the opening mechanism, the mouth section, doesn't freeze up because it's narrower. Use wide mouth bottles. Insulated bottles are heavier, but sometimes worth it. And if you use a Camelback, be sure to blow the water back into your tubes after you drink so that it doesn't get a chance to freeze up. Again, you've got little insulation, a tiny little space for the water to go through. So that's something you want to try and keep above freezing. And I know campers will sometimes bury their water because if you can dig deep enough, you get below the freezing mark. All right. And the last one is knowing when to turn back. One of the biggest things that I worry about on hikes is someone who's just not acting right. They're having trouble keeping up, or they've got a case of the umbles. And umbles is it's a corny way of remembering all the different symptoms of hypothermia. When someone's having, stumbling around, if they're speaking, but you can't understand what they're saying, or they're fumbling around, or they're being more ornery than usual, grumbly. Those are all signs that they may be hypothermic or getting there. So top priority is recognize it, get them back to safety, do what you can to keep them warm, and the mountain will be there next time. So again, going back to what I was saying about having a bailout option, knowing when and where to use it, and just making safety the first concern. Safety over ego every time. So, so with that, hopefully we can all not end up like Jack in The Shining. So I love that photo. Jennifer's seen that probably 100 times now.
Never gets old though.
Yeah. So we'll keep calm, climb every mountain, and get ready to take our kids on a hike as well. So when hiking with children, a couple things that I try to remember to do. Yeah, if we could, thanks. First thing I'd like to do is with the kids is involve them in the planning process. The more involved they are, the more invested they are, and the more they'll learn how to be ready as and good hikers as grown-ups. So let them pick out the clothing, the gear, the warm boots. Pick hikes that are shorter in distance, and know how to cut it short again if you need to. Lots of payoffs, lakes and views and waterfalls, and look out for any signs of fatigue or problems with the kids, signs that they're not doing well. Keep them clear from icy spots and drop-offs, and hot hands will make an unhappy little hiker a happy hiker if their hands are cold. Most of you all know how to read the writing on the trees, but if you come from west of the Mississippi, this three blaze system is like Greek to many of you. The main thing you want to remember is that there are 1, 2, or 3 blazes. A single blaze means you're doing great, keep going. A double blaze, you want to check which blaze is going, what the top blaze is doing. Is the top blaze set off to the right? That means turn right. If it's set off to the left, turn left. And a triple blaze means the start or the end of the trail. You'll see the arrows that I put on the bottom set of trail signs, and they all just indicate that what you want to do when you're reading a trail blaze or a series of trail blazes is pretend that you're hiking up the tree. You're hiking as if you were going up. So if you are going up and you see 2 blazes and one's veering off to the right at the top, that means you're turning right. And if you see a triple blaze and there are 2 blazes at the bottom, 1 at the top, you can kind of pretend that it's a dead end street, and that's the gate going, the 2 blazes is the gate going across the street. You can't go beyond it. So you must be starting, in an upward direction. And the end of a trail is the opposite. The 2 blazes at the top mean that you're walking to a dead end, and that means the trail must be stopping. So you're at the end of the trail. Spur trail, you can also see, we don't use that as much, but spur trail will indicate the direction as well, that you're going right or left if you're taking the spur. I like to write down the route that I'm taking, even if it's only 3 trails. We're starting on the red trail, then we turn right when we get to blue, hike till we get to green where we turn left, and we follow green to the end. It's very simple, but in case I forget, or in case something should happen to me and someone else needs to follow the hike plan, at least I've got it written down, and adds a little bit of safety and security. And then just, the other thing is paying attention when you get to a junction, whatever junction it may be. The turn in the trail may not be obvious, and it may not be the most obvious or heavily used path. You may see a very obvious path that's totally unmarked. So, just keeping an eye out for that, and watching when you get to an area where there are fallen trees, because it could be that the trail is being blocked by a fallen tree, and it's confusing to get around it. People typically get lost or are in those places. Or it could be that the blaze was on the tree and you can't see it now because it's on the ground. Additionally, when you're in rocky areas, when you're walking on bedrock, like in Harriman State Park or up in the higher peaks where it's bedrock, you might not see any blazes, and that might be because the rocks are snow covered. So this is where your Avenza map is going to really help you, because you can see exactly where you are in relationship to the trail. And by the way, if you're off trail and trying to get back on trail, look at your Avenza map. You'll see that flashing blue dot that tells you where you are. Try walking back toward the trail and watch the dot. Is the dot getting farther away or closer to the trail that you're trying to get to? It'll tell you, and that's just a game changer in terms of preventing people from getting lost. And also, if you've lost the trail, and you just can't see where it goes going forward, that's, walk back to the last blaze you saw. And if you can't find it, turn back. All right. So for the proud of you who are trail runners or are interested in trail running, the question is why? I know, being a man of the 1980s, in the 1980s, it was always perfectly acceptable to be a runner out on the roads. But if you ran on trails, you were crazy. Okay. Now trail running has become very popular, and it's a fast growing sport for people, and had the chance to meet so many great people in this way. The reasons why people trail run is, it's a great quality workout in nature. If you love running and you've run on roads, you'll really love running on trails because it's so much more beautiful. So you get a better cardio workout in a shorter period of time. It's great for building strength and core, and coordination and agility, balance, that type of thing. So it's got a lot of huge benefits. And the truth is, trail runners are just a lot more easygoing than my road running counterparts. They really are a fun group to get to know, and they don't care about pace, just have fun. So our group, Trail Conference Trail Runs, gets together once a month, year round. We just had our January run, so our next one is going to be February 25th. If you're interested in checking it out, we offer 2 different pace groups, the slow group and my colleague Ben, who runs like a gazelle for the fast group. And just check us out on Trail Conference Trail Runs on Facebook. All right, so now I'm going to jump into.
Oh, wait, hold on, Don, before
Oh,
you,
yes, yes.
I'm gonna have a stop right here. So speaking of trail running, we had somebody ask, if you have any recommendations on websites or books that show how to step on varied surfaces, rocks, gravel, ice, positioning of footing. If you had any insight to that, or could plug in where they could find a little bit more about that.
No, what a great question. Thank you for that. It's the first thing that I would do is suggest that you check out trailrunnermag.com. That's Trail Runner Magazine, because they offer just about everything that you could possibly want to know about getting started in trail running. And it's free and good information there. When people typically start trail running, their most common injuries have to do with things like twisting an ankle. And as you continue to run, that's not much of a factor for whatever reason anymore. People do learn how to run on uneven surfaces. What I suggest too is, if you're starting out, to start out on rail trails and start out on easy trails and kind of gradually work your way into more technical trails. The New York, New Jersey Trail Conference has been partnering with mountain biking organizations to create trails that are truly multi-use, not mountain biking trails, but ones that you can hike and would want to hike or run on. 2 great examples of those are Ringwood State Park in New Jersey, which has some wonderful single track trails that are pretty non-technical and a great way to learn without, the vicious rocks of Harriman. And on the New York side of the state line is Sterling Forest, which has just a gorgeous multi-use network of trails. You could literally run a marathon distance on all the trails that they have that are runnable. So, but definitely check out trailrunnermag.com. All right, so let's talk a little bit about great winter hikes. So I look for hikes that either are partially obstructed because of leaves during other times of the year, and the views wide open in wintertime. Trails that are beautiful and popular and crowded during the summertime that are less crowded in wintertime, and places where you can see ice and water and waterfalls. Those are the kinds of places that I try to gravitate to. So just run through some of this stuff here. The Catskills, doing the 3,500 Club Peaks was a great experience, and I would highly recommend it, but it's not for the faint of heart. But you don't have to be climbing 3,500 foot peaks or larger to have a great experience. The North-South Lake Loop near Haynes Falls, Palinville, Tannersville area in the Northeast Catskills is a beautiful loop, and it has excellent views. And it's typically pretty crowded in the summertime, less so now. And right adjacent to that is Catterskill Falls, which is just a gorgeous tall waterfall. Again, overrun with people in the summertime, much less so in winter. If you haven't seen it, you want to see it, and the time to see it would be winter when it's less crowded. Let's see what else we have. Wyndham High Peak is a 3,500-foot peak that's not super challenging, but has a beautiful view. And you can hike to other areas like Burnt Knob and Acre Point that also have beautiful views. That's in the Wyndham area, with the town of Wyndham, village of Wyndham, New York. Another area that's great in the Catskills is adjacent to the Devil's Path on Platte Clove Road. You can have a nice, fairly easy hike up to Huckleberry Point for a beautiful view looking deep down into the Clove, quite spectacular. And if you want a bigger challenge, you can continue on up to Catterskill High Peak, which is over 3,600 feet and quite challenging at the end, but it has a gorgeous view from Hurricane Ledge over there. Moving on to Minnewaska and Mohunk in the Shwangunks. This is probably one of my favorite places to hike because it is more payoff for the effort. Beautiful ivory cliffs, great evergreen trees, spectacular scenery, and the peaks don't really go much over 2,000 feet, but you'd never know it. Fonsstock State Park east of the Hudson, nice quiet place with a lot of different options. You can cross-country ski there, you can hike, you can snowshoe, all kinds of options for you east of Hudson folks. And then also the Hudson River itself is beautiful. I suggest to people that they go to places close to Breakneck Ridge, but not Breakneck Ridge. Breakneck Ridge is really tough to get up in the wintertime when it's icy. But right adjacent to it is Bull Hill, or Mount Taurus, as some people call it, where you get the same views, but it's safer. Conversely, for you west of Hudson people, you can be right across from there at North Point, which is adjacent to Storm King, also a kind of a steep climb, but North Point has just spectacular views of the Hudson River, Breakneck Ridge, all that type of thing. And farther south in New York, I suggest checking out the Long Path in the Hook Mountain and Rockland Lake area. There's a beautiful loop that you can do, and you'll see some amazing trail work too, where one of our volunteer crews, the long distance trail crew, has kind of rebuilt the whole climb, the badly eroded climb up toward Hook Mountain, and created a new trail called the Upper Nyack Trail that is just impressive, impressive rock work. So all good to check out. Now I'm going to jump over to Jersey, northern New Jersey. And the thing, being from West Milford and Highland Lakes, Jennifer, you're from Highland Lakes, you know the deal. So many people from Manhattan, so many people who are New Yorkers don't think that there could possibly be anything worth seeing in New Jersey, and therefore they don't go. And therefore, even though the topography is the same, our high point in New Jersey is 1,800 feet. The highest point in Orange County is only 1,600 something feet. So it's exactly the same, but less busy. So I try to take advantage. This is the only time I would climb Mount Tammany at the Delaware Water Gap, because it has just a spectacular view, but gazillions of people. On the Pennsylvania side, Mount Mohican has the opposite view looking back at Mount Tammany. Way on to State Park is just gorgeous. It's got the Pudding Stone Cliffs and Skytop Lakes that are just beautiful. Nobody's hiking there. The Cedar Swamp has a big, beautiful boardwalk that's more than a quarter mile long, and takes you through hemlocks and rhododendrons and mountain laurels and cedar trees, Atlantic white cedars, some of the farthest north you'll find Atlantic white cedars, and way on to lake. Farther south, if you really want a quiet experience, you need a permit, but you can hike the Newark Watershed, aka the Pequannock Watershed, and find just amazing trails and beautiful reservoirs. And then cross-country skiing. Now, this is High Point, New Jersey is the best known place for cross-country skiing in New Jersey, where they have groomed trails and so forth. But if you cross into New York and there's enough snow, you can go to great places like Rockefeller State Park, Sterling Forest, and others where you'll have easier trails that you can explore, more like carriage road experiences. And Rockefeller is beautiful because it has so many hills. So you've got both carriage roads and some hilliness for challenge if that's what you're looking for. All right. Now, just going to jump over to the most popular park in the area, Harriman. Everybody always likes to know about Harriman, and it's such a popular park for good reason. More than 50,000 acres, has almost 250 miles of trails, 20 miles of the Appalachian Trail roughly running through it, and other long distance trails, and no hunting, even in the wintertime. Lakes, iron mines, and just incredible amounts of loop hikes that you can make there. And the trails are all maintained by the New York, New Jersey Trail Conference. This park inspired me to write a book about Harriman. Circuit Hikes in Harriman is a guide. It's kind of a ready-made guide to 37 hikes you can do in the park. Includes maps and elevation profiles and so forth. And best of all, you don't need a car you don't need two cars, I should say, to do these hikes. A typical chapter in the book looked like this, where you've got time, distance, and difficulty laid out for you, what the main attractions are you're going to see, GPS coordinates so you can find it, because there are no street addresses in the woods, a beautiful map for you to follow, and at the bottom right, that squiggly line is the elevation profile. So you can see exactly where the hills are and when you're going to hit them. On this particular hike, you're going to get a lot of hills toward the end. That's what a chapter looks like. Some of the highlights that you will see from the book, or if you just hike in Harriman with a map of your own, are super 360-degree views. I definitely recommend checking out Bear Mountain in the wintertime. It has an accessible trail that you can use. You can even take someone on a wheelchair there when it's snow-free, but it has just a gorgeous view. And Bear Mountain has four sides to it. It really has four moods, four seasons, four sides to it that are completely different. Winter's a great time to see it when there aren't so many people. Bald Mountain is just to the south of Bear Mountain, and it's part of the Dunderberg Mountain West Mountain complex. And Bald Mountain looks north on the Hudson River, looks to Bear Mountain, Anthony's Nose, the beautiful Hudson, and it's the most painted and the most photographed viewpoint that you will find in the Hudson Valley. So check it out via the Cornell Mine Trail. And speaking of mines, there are lots of great mines. I love Bradley Mine, but it's not a public mine. Pine Swamp Mine is one that you can access off of Seven Lakes Drive, hiking through on the Arden Surebridge Trail or the Long Path to the Dunning Trail, and it's off the Dunning Trail. It's in the book. Winter trail runs, definitely love so many different runs in Harriman, and 8 of the chapters are designated as multi-use, so that you can at least trail run on them. Hogan Camp Mountain and Island Pond. The Lemon Squeezer is a great one as well. Not too difficult in the wintertime. West Mountain in the Timp, just nonstop views, another place that gets a lot of people during the warmer weather months, and you can enjoy all its beauty and that beautiful shelter that you see at the top right from that area. My favorite longish distance trail there is the Ramapo Dunderberg. That trail is over 20 miles. It traverses, all the way from Tuxedo to the Hudson River down by Dunderberg Mountain. And what I love about this one is that it doesn't look down on Woodbury. It doesn't look down on Rockland County, New York. It is in the middle of the park, and it's got the most, you feel like you could be in Canada the whole time. It's just amazing. There's a natural rock cave shelter I suggest checking out. If you hike the long path north into northern Harriman, you'll pass over Stockbridge Mountain, which has its own man-made shelter, and then you'll come to this beautiful cave-like thing that is a natural cave shelter. Again, use caution. I've never seen a bear there, but be careful if you check out any cave shelters. Lots of lakes, and the last thing I'll leave you with is Dunderberg Mountain has a spiral railway that was built in the 19th century. It was never completed, but the railway is still visible without the tracks. And there are all these kind of cool tunnels that some of them go all the way through and some of them don't. But you have a great view and just a lot of history to see. So all of these great experiences are just, they are phenomenal, and we're so lucky to have all these in our area. I've lived in other parts of the world. I've lived in other parts of the United States where these things don't exist or very few trails exist. And that's why I'm so passionate about the trails and about this organization and about keeping the trails alive, through the 21st century. So, the question becomes, how do we do it? How do we keep it going? We have a lot of challenges right now. We have unprecedented number of people using the trails. We have, climate change and extreme weather events, all of which are contributing to erosion of the trails. And it's about all we can do to keep up with it at this point. So the way we can accomplish that is with sufficient member support. We can continue to recruit and train and support volunteers. And through their hard work, we can, keep these trails open and safe for everybody to use. The way it has really worked all these 100 years has been by creating kind of a force multiplier effect. Our donations, our memberships and support allow the staff to recruit and train and support volunteers, among other important things that have to be done to keep the trails open, working with 200 different parks and so forth. And with that, we're able to field, a small army of thousands of volunteers and Conservation Corps members. And they in turn contribute 100,000 hours of labor, which is sort of free-ish, sort of not, but a lot cheaper than we could do with paid professionals. And that's how we can manage to get the job done. And so for those of you who are members, thank you so much for doing it, for being members and for volunteering your time. For me personally, I've chosen to make the Trail Conference my #1 charity for the last 30 years, just because it means that much to me. The Trail Conference has gotten me out in nature. I appreciate that they're saving land for more trails and creating bigger buffers around the trails. We do have my mental and physical well-being are all part of this, and just this trail lifestyle we enjoy exists because of it. And frankly, if it's not us, who will? If it's not us, the hikers, then who? So thank you to everybody who has done that or is thinking about supporting the Trail Conference. If you'd like to find out more information about specific hikes or about the Trail Conference, if you want to pick up maps, want to think about volunteering or supporting the organization through your donations, please reach out. I'd be more than happy to talk to you, answer any questions. I don't bite, and I won't ask you for money, but I would love to answer your questions and just let you know more about how this great organization works. So that's about it. I'd like to open it up for any other questions that people have.
Okay, great. Thanks so much, Don. First, I'd also like to second that. I always say that the Trail Conference creates and supports where you adventure. So everything that Don was talking about is really possible through our volunteers and our supporters and our friends that are on this call. So thank you for joining us. So we just had a few other questions, and one of them from Jeff about trail running and if you had ever been chased after by a dog and what you did if that did occur.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, definitely. And the best thing that I've found to do is stop, face the dog, try to be non-threatening but assertive. I mean, it really depends. Every dog is its own personality, right? And so many times when you just stop and face them, and don't act afraid, the dog, will wag its tail and, come up and say hello. But, if it's a more aggressive dog, it's another kind of situation. I know some people do carry, spray on them. I don't personally, but that's really, what I try to do to deal with a dog that's trying to chase.
Okay,
Sometimes
great.
it's just that running, just like with a bear, why I was saying don't run from the bear. You just don't want to trigger that chase instinct in them. And once you stop, sometimes that chase instinct goes away.
Great. You sort of touched on this, but Gretchen had a question about the mines and if bears, if those are any hibernation spots that bears tend to go to. The ones that you referenced, you said you didn't see any, but could there be a mine that bears would hibernate in?
That's always a possibility. No, I've never seen a bear in a mine, and most of the mines that you go to are actually kind of closed off. They may have a grate over them, or they're small mines. Pine Swamp Mine in particular is pretty popular. It sees a lot of traffic, and it's not really that hospitable a place for a bear to hibernate. But I would treat every crevice in a rock as a place where a bear could potentially be, and approach it with that degree of caution.
Look at it with suspicious eyes and definitely don't let your kids go and explore that. Love seeing all the comments about people on the call adventuring with their kids, so that's great. We also had a question about using batteries and keeping them from dying, especially on longer hikes, in particular, ones that are in low temps about 24 degrees. Any
Yeah,
tips on keeping those?
yeah, it's a real issue. It's a real issue, and the best thing you can do is to use your body heat as the way to keep the batteries warm. Carry extra batteries, expect that they're going to die quicker, and do all that you can to keep them warm. But backup battery sources, whether it's an egg or some other kind of backup battery, is the way to go. It's always good to have those Tyvek trail maps as your backup too.
Yeah, I've also seen portable solar battery chargers too. Those are, lifesavers as well. And would the same thing go for lighters, keeping them close to your body for if you needed to start a fire, and also similar situation with weather.
Right, right. And I'm a chicken out in the cold. I don't want to take chances with a flint and steel or any of that nonsense. I want a guaranteed fire starter. So I want lighters that work, and I want plenty of they make candle-like, wax-like products that you can buy that are super easy to light. Because the time that you need a fire to get started is usually when it's dark, when it's snowing, when you're tired, when all those kinds of things. So as idiot-proof as possible is the way to go.
Also, Ashley commented in reference to the dog chasing. I'm assuming it's to the dog chasing because she's a dog lover. Stand still like a tree.
Great advice. Yep.
Mike has provided his, if anybody was so would like to volunteer for the trail conference, he has provided his contact information so that you can get out on the trails and give back your time. I saw a few comments earlier on the best way to understand blazing is to go out there and do it, and that's absolutely right. We also have a question for extended trips, 5 days or greater. Oh, we already answered that. Sorry. The chat was super active tonight, so
Awesome.
Yes, I love it. So just going through.
Yeah, my chat box says 99 plus, so that's.
Yes.
Thank you all.
So just if I missed you, I'm sorry. I'm gonna keep looking as I talk, but we will have a recording of this. Make sure that you have we'll send the email to you, and then the recording will be in the email. The link will be on the online library, and just give it a few days for us to upload it, to edit anything that we might need to edit, and we'll get that back to you. And if you have any questions, Don's email address will also be there that you could, you know, and right there, you'll be able to contact him directly. Somebody also gave, just in reference, carrying koozies with them. You could use that to also help the battery life. I think that's a great one too. So
that's a great tip. Thanks for that.
yeah, bubble wrap. I love people are on how to keep it, right? We can't live without these, right? We can't. I know. So yeah, so thanks everybody so much for really being interactive. Like I said earlier, you know, it's really great that we can all be here tonight together virtually. So really, really appreciate that. And no, you don't need to have any experience for volunteering. Mike and his team will give you everything that you need. And the fun part about it is you also get to choose what you want to do. You could be on the trail, you could be out in the office, you could help with publications, you could do invasive species work, GIS. So, you know, it's not a one fit all. So again, thank you so much, everybody. We're also going to post the link on social media. So wait, we do have one last question as I got through it. So my rambling did find one question. So do you find a difference between white gas versus canister gloves? I don't.
Say that one more time. I couldn't hear that.
Do you find a difference between white gas versus canister stoves?
I am not knowledgeable about the difference between them. So yeah,
Okay.
I don't have an opinion, but appreciate the question, and I'll add that to the next presentation, gas stoves.
Yeah, and I mentioned a couple times because we had a lot of people ask about different apparel and different gear type. We are having a gear talk. We're in the middle of finalizing that date. It's going to be a little bit past the winter hiking part, but it will be in March, so which is an equally interesting time to go hiking because if you don't know, it's called mud season. So that presentation will be in person. We'll also look to see if we could do it virtually as well. And that will go through everything with a gear expert on their picks for day hikes. So definitely stay tuned for that. And again, thank you, Don, so much for your expertise. I learn something every single time I come. And thanks everybody for sharing their enthusiasm tonight. It was really great. My fingertips kept working, so I really appreciate the interactive vibe. And yeah, thanks so much, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Stay safe and have fun.
Yes, thank you. Have a great night, everybody. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Thanks so much.
I really enjoyed this. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you so much. And thanks for talking with me in the beginning.
Absolutely.
Good night, guys.